Welcome to Stories of Friendship. It's your host, Morris.
I'm here today with Bambi Lynn. I'm going to give Bambi a chance to go ahead and introduce herself.
I am so excited to be on this podcast. You have no idea. I've told all of my girlfriends I get to talk about our friendship. So my name is Bambi. I actually am a mother of 6 adult children, 13 grandchildren. I am a 2-time published author, third one coming out in June. I'm a blogger. Let's see. And I've been on over 150 podcasts sharing my story. So this is the first time that I get to really share my story about friendships as the title. So I'm really excited.
I love that so much, Bambi. I'm excited to hear about your friendships and just really discuss how friendship has impacted your life. I remember in our pre-recording, you read to me from your book that you wrote, and you had a chapter from your book that was specifically on friendship. So I want to start there because I feel like for friendship to be so significant to you that you would call it a gift and you would give it space in your book. How did that come about? And you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about your book as well.
Yeah, well, you're talking about my book, The Treasures of My Heart. And the whole premises of the book, The Treasures of My Heart, is that in the midst of all of our storms, there actually are treasures along the path. But sometimes we get so caught up in the storm that we don't see the treasures that are actually appearing within the storm until the storm calms down. It's kind of like a hurricane when it comes crashing through a city. We don't see the aftermath, and we don't see the blessings that could happen until after the storm is over. So that was the premise of my book. And yes, my friendships was a chapter in the book. And the whole concept is that when I had gone to counseling, I had my counselor asked me to sit and to wait and ask God for a word picture. And so the word picture was that I saw was a heart, a real heart, and there was pockets, little gifts inside of the heart. And as I began to start looking and seeing the different gifts I couldn't miss my friends, as they were the ones that were jumping up and down going, me, let's go to coffee. Like me, let's go to coffee. So yes, my friendships have been something that it's kind of like the air that I breathe. If I take a breath and I stop breathing, you start choking, and trying to gasp for air. That's kind of what my friendships are. They didn't allow me to gasp for air, that they were always part of the air that I breathe and pieces of me. When you have friendships like I have, they create in you who you are, and they give you pieces of themselves, and you give yourself pieces to them, and you get to create this amazing masterpiece when it comes to friendships.
I love how you said that. And I'm reminded about you sharing some of the stories, like your neighbors, you guys were friends. And when you needed a vehicle, they gave you a vehicle. So tell me about some of those times where friendship really was air for you that
for me to breathe. Yes. I came from a very dysfunctional background. I don't have a really good relationship with any of my family. So God had given me family in the midst of not having many within my friends. The Bible talks about that your friends stick closer than their brother. Well, I am living proof that that really does happen. I have had friendships that have walked me through the darkest moments of my life. They have provided for me when I couldn't provide for myself. They have given me things that I didn't have, and they were willing to give out of their own lives, to pour into mine. I have had friends that have given me cars. And then I later on in life was able to plant seeds into somebody else's life by giving them a car. My friendships taught me how to be me. In fact, I had a friend, and we're still very, very good friends even today, that I wasn't even taught by my mom how to dress or how to even buy a bra. And she took me to JCPenney's for the first time ever and taught me how a bra is to be fitted, because I didn't know how to do that. That's friendship. That's friendship, being inside of the, dressing room, having to show this one woman how to dress properly and how to put everything in order. Yes. Those are the kind of friendships that I've had. Those are the kind of friendships people ask me on a couple other podcasts that I've been on. said, what is your definition of friendship? And my definition of friendship is sitting around at a table or in your living room laughing so hard that your belly hurts and you need to pee your pants. That's friendship, that you can just let it all out and they meet you where you're at and you can't stop laughing. Those are really true friendships.
I love that so much. So tell me about some of your friendships. I imagine you have long-term friendships. You have friends that you recently met. How does that play into your life with having friends that you've just known and they know you, but then having more recent friends that maybe went from acquaintances to friends?
Friendships. Yeah. I do have friendships that I've had since I was in second grade, and then I actually have a friend that's actually coming on Thursday, and staying at my house from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I write about her in my book because she helped. We were cheerleaders together and she wouldn't allow anybody to bully me, and so we didn't have conversation for quite a while in our lives because our lives had gone separate ways and things like that. But I actually wrote about her in my second book, The Treasures of My Heart. And when I had my first book, that I had a launch party for my first book, she actually showed up, to my launch party, and I hadn't seen her in years. And now every time I go back to Buffalo, we reacquaint. And then she just contacted me 3 weeks ago and said, hey, I'm coming to Georgia. Would you like me to come? And that was like handing a little kid, a Christmas present, on Christmas. It was like, oh my goodness. So we've planned out these things to do, and we have been friends, but haven't been in each other's life forever. But we have been friends since I was in 6th and 7th grade. I've had friends that have watched me grow into the person that I had. I have a friendship that when I was married, the first husband that I was married to, we had gone and I had a pressure canner blow up on me. And she was at our house continually making sure that we were okay, giving us food, giving us products, and everything. And I was a mother of 4, and I was a young mother. I was a mother of 4 children by the age of 22 years old. And she thought I was too legalistic. She thought I was too regiment. And so for years, she would pick on me. And she is 70 something years old today. And she is one of my greatest friends because she has watched me mature. She watched me go from a young mother to a woman that I am today. Those kind of friendships. And she prays for me daily. Those kind of friendships you can't live without. I had a friendship that almost was broken over she had a tennis court at her house and we were playing tennis and I fell to the ground and she was laughing hysterically because she thought I was just kidding. Well, I was in pain and she had to drag me up of her hill because I come to find out I had broke my knee, but my ex-husband wanted me to sue them, and wanted me to sue their homeowners insurance and wanted me to sue them. And my heart was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And our friendship almost went away because of that turmoil. But it's sustained and we are the best of friends, still the best of friends. So there's so many stories of my friendships because you have to remember my friends were my family, that they knew I was a very needy friend, years ago. And they knew that, and they still carried me through the trauma of my life. They carried me through the divorces. They carried me through Christmas and Mother's Day and Valentine's Day when nobody bought me anything. My friends did.
So did you grow up, you had siblings when you?
I did. Yes, I do have siblings. Yep. I have 2 brothers and a sister.
Okay. And I'm curious because, right, you say friends are like family. So tell me about how, not that I want you to compare them, but tell me to you, what is the difference between your blood siblings that you grew up with? And of course, there's probably unconditional love there versus these platonic friends that have shown up.
I wish there was unconditional love, and I think that that's why my friendships have meant so much to me, because there was unconditional love with my friends. There was an unconditional love with my family. I hate the word black sheep because I'm really not the black sheep, but I am the elephant in the room that refuses to not talk about the things that happen. And so they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want me to acknowledge it. So I'm kind of like the person on the outside, looking into my family. They don't want to deal with things, and I'm a dealer. I'm somebody that says, wait a minute, in order to become healed and set free, we got to deal with some stuff. And they weren't willing to do that. And my friends were. My friends have always been willing to do that. In fact, there were times that, I was in a domestic violence relationship, and I was so needy. I just needed so much because I was so broken. And there were times that I would be sick and they would come to my house, and I knew they would come to my house every day for the first 2 days or whatever and bring me food and bring me soup. And, and the third day I was fine. I was okay, but I told them that I wasn't, so they can come to my house again, to take care of me. And they knew that I was okay, but they still came because they knew that I needed that kind of love. I needed that kind of assurance. I read the 5 languages of love, throughout my life. And I was a words of affirmation person. I'm somebody that don't give me a card and just write Jack on it. I need a card that has a letter, to it. I don't need it as much anymore because I have grown in my faith and I've grown in my healing, but they were okay. They knew, okay, we can't give Bambi just a card. There has to be a letter in there. There has to be words of affirmation. And they never said, no, Bambi, we're not doing that. We're not feeding into your insecurity. They just knew that I needed that. They knew that I needed that kind of love, and they knew that I needed that kind of security.
And I think that's amazing because your friends, it sounds like your friends bought into who you are totally and totally accepted you versus saying, well, I don't like that you need words of affirmation. I don't like that you ask us to come over when you're fine, right? They didn't put an expectation on you that you have to behave a certain way. They just gave you what you needed.
Yes.
And that's beautiful because I feel like that's exactly what friendship is. No judgment. Okay, you want me to just sit with you, even though you're telling me you're sick, and I know you're not sick, and you know you're not sick. I understand exactly what you're really asking from me, and I'm going to give it to you.
Yes. And it was just, and I can't even, I wish there was some way that I wish there was some way that you can just jump inside of my heart and know the impact, that my friends have had on me, that, I would not be who I am today.
Well, I imagine the friend that you talked about that you've known since 6th or 7th grade, when you said she did not allow people to bully you, was she somebody that maybe even instilled some confidence in you, since she said, I will fight for you, obviously?
I just think looking back, it did. But at the moment, I was such a broken little girl. I had come from such a broken life that nobody knew all of the secrets. I felt like I lived in a globe, and everybody else was passing through life without me. And because nobody knew my secrets, I just think that was just part of her personality, of who she is. And it just has resonated. And for her to say, Bambi, I'm going to come to Georgia. I'm coming to your house. And so I have planned this whole 3 days, and, I've made sure that there's a basket on her bed of all these, things that she loves. And, I am on. The other thing is that I think that people need to know is to have a friend is to be a friend, and to make sure that you're pouring into people's lives. I am somebody that I never wanted anybody to enter my home or enter my presence or enter my life that didn't leave feeling like, wow, okay, I just felt blessed. And that's my personality. So I think, if I had a personality that was full of neediness and didn't give anything back in return, I would be somebody that they would go, ugh, I can't. And we all know those kind of people that want to take and take and take from you, but don't give you anything.
Yes.
Draining. And they give you nothing in return. I am somebody that gives you something in return, so it's worth the investment.
Okay, now tell me about that, because I definitely agree. And I noticed that it can appear even from the outside looking in sometimes, right, where one person seems like they are more needy than the other, but only the people in the friendship realize what's received, right? So if one person is a giver and they may give items or money or time, but the other person gives in a different manner. And just like we're talking about the 5 love languages,
Yeah.
or the book Vital Friends by Tom Rath, where he talks about those 8 vital roles that friends can play in any relationship. I'm curious how that's been for you. How does it feel when you give, but it's a different type of gift than what you're receiving?
I'm perfectly okay with that because, it's learning different people's personalities. It's learning. And then plus there's times that, like all of us, I mean, maybe not all of us, but we all laugh about it. My friends and I laugh about it. We all have a drawer that if it's something that we don't like, we're never going to tell you to your face, but we're going to put it in a drawer to give it to somebody else that you don't know. It's like, and we're okay with that, because it's a joke. It's all funny because we all have a drawer. And it's okay. They're not always going to give me the things that, oh my goodness, this is so great, but they're giving it in a way, according to their heart and according to what they see. And plus now we're all older. I'm 55 years old. There's not a whole lot that I need anymore. So when I turned 50, one of my closest friends, they all live in Buffalo. They hub grubbed from across the country to a restaurant to have it delivered to my hotel and to have it delivered to my house.
Nice.
I have personally no idea how to do that, but I have a girlfriend that is very techie and knows how to do that. And so at your door, you're getting flowers and cake. And, when I was 50, I got cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory. Like that is like the coolest thing in the world. And sometimes when we go away, we see something that we like with each other and we'll just send it, to each other. It doesn't have to be our birthdays. It doesn't have to be a special occasion. It's just whenever.
You thought of the person and you honored that thought.
Absolutely. It's the most amazing. If you can have friendships, especially, women need friendships. Women need friendships to survive. If there's
tell me about that, because you say women need friendships. Why is that for you that you'd say women and not humans? Or you know what I'm getting at? Because
of our emotional being and because how we function, and how we interact with people, it's actually a need on our part. Not that men don't need friendships. I'm saying we need them. I just heard, Jane Fonda just did a reel on that just recently that went through that, saying it's actually part of our makeup that we need community. And if you think about it, years ago, women were getting together to do quilting. We were getting together to raise our babies together. We were getting together to cook together because women function in community. And so that's why I say that it's something that we need. We need community. We need that interaction, with people. I go out every Tuesday night with a group of women. I need that. I need to go out there, and even if it's just for us just to eat dinner and don't talk, we need it.
Among each other is enough.
Absolutely.
So I know you just had a Galentine's Day where you invited some, I take it was friends.
Yep. Well, yeah. And a couple of them I just met. One of them I just met. So I did, and one of them was my daughter, but I can only fit 5 people at my apartment. So I can only invite 4, but it was a month and a half long preparation. It was to make sure that when they walked into my house, into my apartment, and they saw the table, that it was decorated to a T, that they saw love being showered, and that, they left with all kinds of party favors. They left with, my daughter taught each one of them for a party favor. One of their gifts was 2 towels. And so my daughter taught them how to make a towel that you put when you're going on a cruise. So they could take home that, they took home a cup, a red cup that I put oatmeal in, they took that home. They took home a little container that I had made that had candy in it. My purpose is that these women were my daughter. Well, she's not single. 2 were single and 2 weren't. But my purpose is that I wanted them to know that when they walked into my house, everything was based on them, that it was about them and them alone. And it was a success. It was amazing.
I'm glad to hear that.
It was great.
So it sounds to me like you intentionally make friends. You will take people who you don't know, and you're almost like aggressive with setting those friendships in motion.
Yes. And I see them as intentional. Like, I don't just pick friends, like just, whatever. They are intentional. The one woman that was here, both of us are prayer coaches. And I want to rub shoulders with her, and I want to be part of her because she has that same passion that I have. So there's an intentional reason. It's not like, oh my goodness, I'm going to use you. But I look and go, oh, I have something to offer her. She has something to offer me. And so a lot of my friendships are very intentional, because who you hang out with is who you become in 5 years.
Okay, I love that. Do you also subscribe to the 5 closest people to you are that on average of who you are?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. My friendships were intentionally picked. Like my girlfriend, and the thing is that I realized a couple years ago, because within my friendships, I felt like I was always the most broken. And so, like, I remember when one of my girlfriends, her daughter got married, and I was standing in the middle of these 2 beautiful, breathtaking women that were my friends, and they had it all together. I felt like, oh my goodness, they have it all together. And then they were somebody that, I would be able to say, oh yeah, I know this person. And oh, she owns a Verizon store. So because I thought I had no value, I thought that I didn't have value into these friendships. I felt like I was pouring into them, but they really didn't need me. And I realized a couple of years ago, I had this conversation with one of my girlfriends, and I said, I've always felt that you didn't need me. And she said, you are air that I breathe. Like, how could you ever feel that way? But I always thought that they were the prettiest, and, they were the slimmest, or they had more, they had more money than me, because I'm a single mom with 6 kids trying to figure this out. And for them to say, you have no idea what you have done and how you've impacted my life, and being friends with you is just the most amazing thing in the world. Like, but I didn't see that. Now I see that.
And this is what we were talking about, where it feels like they're giving, but you're also giving in a different way that maybe isn't tangible.
Right.
That's powerful. That's beautiful.
But it's different. And, and I had a friendship that, I've had a couple friendships that have, they've had to walk away. I had one that her husband didn't want us to have a relationship, and for 10 years, and it broke both of us. It broke us because there was so much similarity. We were prayer partners, and, her husband thought that I was taking her away or whatever. And just this past summer, we would talk gradually every once in a while, but nothing like we did daily and pray together and stuff like that. And I was coming to my hometown, and I said, why don't you ask your husband if I can stay at your house? And she goes, I don't know if I could do that. And so it took her like 3 weeks to say, hey, Bambi's coming into town. We have an extra room. Can she stay? And he said, sure. And when I went to her house, he sat down with us, which was okay for a little while, but after a while, leave. Women want to talk by ourselves. We don't need our husbands sitting around. And he actually apologized for what he did. He didn't understand the depth of our friendship and how I did support her in decisions in her life, and even in decisions with their marriage, that I never went between them. And I just always walked beside her and said, whatever decision you make, I'm there. I'm not going to tell you how to run a marriage or how to do anything, but I'm there. And it was like giving me back. I can't even tell you, the depth of what he gave back to me. And, that my friendship, because our friendship together was such a deep deep relationship. And I think too, is that as a friend, I think that I tell people all the time too, as a friend, you're not there to tell them how to live their life. You're there to guide them with whatever decision that they make. I'm not there to tell you how to live. I'm not there to tell you to leave. I'm not there to tell you to stay. I'm not there to tell you how to raise your children and how not to raise your children. I'm there to walk beside you. That's what a friend does. It sticks closer than a brother, and they walk beside you through this journey. And if you say you want to leave, then we're running with you. If you say you're going to stay, then we're staying with you. If you say you're going to do this, then I'm doing that. And that way friendships become safe because you're not telling people what to do. We're guiding along the path, and we're just holding on to arms together and walking through it.
I cannot tell you how important this part of the discussion is. I think that there are plenty of couples out there, and I feel like especially newer couples, right? Just married couples, that friendship takes a backseat. It becomes the lowest priority. And then jealousy is real. We all experience some kind of jealousy and envy. To hear you say, I had this beautiful friendship, and then the husband said, it's done. Basically, I want my wife back, right? I feel like you are taking her from me. And then to have him come back and say, I messed up, right? I have taken away something that is so important to her. I mean, it's powerful, it's impactful. And I think people need to hear friendships, just like you said, they support, they guide, and you can't just take those away. Like friendships are a serious part of us. And like you said, growth, all of that stuff we need friendships for, community. You shouldn't lower the priority of friendships. It should stay as important to you as it was because of what it brings to the table.
You have to watch, the new series of Magnolia, Steele's Magnolia, is a prime example of three women that have been friends since they were in grade school, and they have margarita nights. And the husbands know you don't mess around with margarita night, that these three women need each other. These three women have cultivated relationships and friendships. And sometimes people come and go into your life. It's kind of like they say with family, that family is thicker, blood is thicker than water. Now, in my aspect, friendship is thicker, than family. That people are going to come and go, but we're always going to be there because we're sisters, we're blood, we're blood, so to speak, may not share the same blood, but I'm going to be there. And I love the movie, with Magnolias, the three friendships, three different cultures, but they grew up together, and there's a relationship. There's another friendship movie that was amazing. It was called Fire Lane. And it was two girls that grew up together, and they had to walk through life. And, and one of them got cancer, and walk through. But friendship is so important into those times, when you have babies. A lot of times you're calling for your friend, to be there with you and to stick with you. Friendship is such an important, intricate part of our lives. And if you don't have those kind of friendships, you're surely missing out. You're missing out on a piece of the puzzle of your life.
And you're probably doing life harder than it should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just had a girlfriend that she texted me, and I haven't talked to her, I haven't talked to her in a while, so sometimes, I have a close knit, but then I am a friend. So I have a lot of friends. In fact, I think I told you, I have my friends that I'll send them things and like, okay, how many of us did you send this to? Because they just know, that I just have a lot of people, and I connect people when I'm in town. Everybody comes and I collect them. But I had one that, she has known me since I was in my early 20s. She knew my first husband and stuff like that. And we built this relationship, and she was like a mother figure to me, but I hadn't heard from her in a while. And she sent me a text. She goes, Hey sis, I know you haven't heard from me in a while, but today I was praying for you. And I just wanted to tell you how proud I was of you and what you have accomplished, and just keep going. Don't give up. I'm always listening and watching your posts and everything. Just don't give up. And at first I was really touched, but then the other part of me was really, really touched. And then the other part of me was like, where have you been? I've missed you. You impacted my life. It's because of the older generation that took care of me, so to speak. You impacted my life and you kind of like fell off the face of the earth. So I actually like wrote her back and I said, hey, that's really touched me, but where have you been? Kind of thing. And, and I was kind of like looking at it in a way that I was kind of like being sarcastic, like wondering. But then that night that I did that and I wrote to her, I watched one of the episodes of Steel as Magnolia, and there was a quote in there, and it said, when you get discouraged because people are not screaming from the rooftop, maybe it's because they have been whispering to you all along. And I felt so convicted. I'm like, oh my goodness, they've been whispering. They're kind of like the great cloud of witnesses on earth, whispering, watching me, cheering me on. They're just not loud about it anymore because they were loud at one time. They just don't have to be loud anymore because now they're whispering and they're always in my corner. And sometimes friendships come and go, and sometimes friendships just reunite.
Yes.
And you have to be okay with that. She wasn't leaving me behind. She just has life going on.
Right.
So I learned that, you learn that the hard way.
I definitely agree. I'm sure the audience is wondering, because you have a lot of friends and it sounds like it is natural for you to make friends. Yes. What's your recommendation for them to make friends and find people to connect with?
Well, first of all, you have to be a friend too. You have to be friendly too. If you think you're going to make friends just sitting on your bed all night long, feeling sorry for yourself, and there's nobody loves me, nobody has friends for me, then, that's kind of like your own fault. You have to go out there and you have to be intentional. Go to places that, you want. For a year when I was here in Brunswick, Georgia, it was very tough for me because my close friends were living in, Buffalo. And I did spend a year crying. Like, I can't do this because it's a different atmosphere here. They're Southern, but yet it's different. They don't make friends very easily, kind of thing. But I had written a book and the library was offering a book sale that you could sell your book. You can get a table. And I went there and I met a 70-year-old woman that I think she was 79. Yeah, she was 79, but she became an author at 70. And I just struck up a conversation with her. And that's the group that I go to every Tuesday, for dinner. You have to just be willing to want to be a friend, and you have to be willing to come out of your own self. People aren't coming to you anymore. You have to make that intention, to do that and continue to build, that relation, continue to find ways to build a relationship. And they're going to come in many shapes and sizes. Everybody that I meet on Tuesdays, I'm the youngest and I'm 55. So they're 63 to 92 years old. So don't underestimate what they can put into your life and what you can learn, from them. Don't look in and go, oh, I don't think I could be friends with them, because you have this preconceived idea of what it's supposed to be like. I've grown a lot in the relationships with them because they have so much knowledge. They have so much that I need, to go on to the next leg of my race.
I love that. Do you have friends that are men?
Well, okay. I do have friends that were men, but, I was raised in the time that men and women couldn't be friends, because if you were going to be friends with a man, then he could turn it around at any time and want to have a relationship with you. So I was brought up in a Christian church, and that's what we were brought up. So we're always brought up believing that men and women can't be friends, or can't be close friends, or have that intimate, you're never to pray with a man, because it's too intimate. You're never, but the older that I get, because I'm not looking for a relationship either, I have really great men friends. Some of them actually I have dated, that became really good friends of mine, but this may be too much, but I never had an intimate relationship with them. So we ended in a good way. So now I can call them and say, hey, what am I going to do here? There may be a little flirting because we're both male and female. There may be, but we know that we are friends.
There's a boundary that you both respectfully do not cross.
Correct. And so I actually do have friends. Now my sons, because they're 25, are like, Mom, if you ever wanted to change it, if you ever change it and said, hey, do you want to have this kind of relationship with me? A man's going to say yes. So I've asked, I have 4 really good men. And I've asked them, I said, would you ever go on a date with me? And they're like, no, I would lose our friendship. It's not like you're not dateable. And it's not that you're not pretty enough or anything, but to lose the friendship that we have.
So do you think at your age, a platonic relationship is valued as much as having a marriage? Because that's what it sounds like, right? They're saying, I have your friendship. This is a good thing. We don't need to do anything more.
Right. But I think it comes with age.
Okay.
That's me personally, because I'm not looking for feelings anymore. I'm looking to
maturity, and you've done so much in your life already. I think it's easier. It's self-awareness, like all of that stuff gives you more control.
Absolutely. And I will send a couple of them, like my blogs, because I'm a blogger, and I'll send them, hey, what do you think of this? I just want a man's point of view, because I'm always so caught up in getting a woman's point of view, and they'll tell me, but it's a friendship that we have. In fact, one of my closest friends, one of my closest male friends, he was when I was a young girl, I had a crush on him as a teenager.
Wow.
Like he was like, when I was a kid, how you used to put posters on your wall. He would have been a poster that I would have put on my wall. I just like adored him. We tried dating and it didn't work, but man, I can call him anytime and say, hey, we need some time to talk, and and there is a love there, like people that I've been in relationships with, there's still love there, but they could come to my house and sleep in my guest bedroom and I would be perfectly fine, because I love that friendship and I need that friendship.
So platonic love, you greatly care about them. You guys have respectful boundaries, though, that you're not really even worried about crossing.
Not even, I'm honestly not even worried about it.
Okay, so what now? Tell me about this. What do, for you in your friendships with men, what do they bring to your table that maybe women do not?
A different awareness, a different conversation. You have to remember, I'm always around women. So sometimes because I have been hurt by men, because I have been a victim of domestic violence, and I had a husband that cheated on me, and and stuff that happened in my past, being molested and raped and things like that. These men bring into my life something that I didn't have. And I was scared to have anything, because if I had any kind of relationship with men, there was a hate to that. There was a preconceived idea that every man was going to hurt me. There's a preconceived idea that every man is going to take from me. And these 4 men that I have in my life, they're not taking anything from me. They're giving me something. They're giving me value. They're telling me what my worth is. And they're explaining to me, no, that somebody that said that to you, no, they don't look at your worth. And a couple of them, one of them I wrote about in my book, the journey of Josephine, and then one of my friends said, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I treated you with respect and love, because I wouldn't have wanted to bend somebody that you wrote about. So I just think that it's just a different kind of relationship. Men bring something different to the table. And sometimes as women, because we've been hurt, sometimes we walk away from the masculinity of a man, because the masculinity of a man hurt us.
I see.
So this has just taught me that not everybody is the same.
Okay. And I think that's beautiful as well for the audience to just hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open and sharing about that too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I would, there are only times that I actually, I would go on a vacation with one of my guy friends, and we would have different hotels, but I would love to have some picture, because I've done everything alone, and, and I'm like every woman. Sometimes, you really do want to have some kind of relationship. I would go and maybe hold their hand and take pictures, but that doesn't mean it's going anywhere. It's in the moment.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I see.
You allowed me to talk more than I've ever said anything about stuff like that before.
I'm glad.
Uh,
So, Bambi, okay, so we talked a lot about friendship and I think you've illustrated how important it's been and impactful it's been in your life,
mhm.
how friends have really shown up for you during hard times. They've given you things. You've talked about gifting. The 5 love languages came up. Like, we've had some really good conversation. What would you leave our audience with? What's your advice for them in dealing with friendship? We talked about how to make friends. Is there something that you'd say how to maintain long-term friendships and how to really bond closer to friends?
Yeah, it's just definitely just it's seasons in your life. It's accepting those seasons and walking beside you with those seasons. I have friends, my friendships, there would be times that they would say, you know what, Bambi, you got 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to talk, to scream, to do whatever you need to do. But then after that 10 minutes, we're going to come in and we're going to tell you and love on you during that. This past week, I found out one of my daughters is stationed in Georgia, and they are moving for 4 years to Alaska.
Wow.
And my daughter and I are like really, really close. She was I had a teenage pregnancy, and she was it. And we are like very, very close. She turned out to be one of my friends, my best friend. She's not just my daughter anymore because she's 37 years old. And when my girlfriends found that out, I mean, they called me and said, "You're going to need more than 10 minutes, aren't you?" And because I was devastated, and they knew that, and they didn't try to come up with an answer for me. And when you can find friends like that don't have an answer, that don't tell you, "Oh, Bambi, it's going to be okay. You're going to get to go visit her." I'm like, I don't need to hear that because she's in Alaska and I'm in Georgia. So visiting her is not thing. I didn't need to hear anybody trying to tell me, how I'm supposed to feel, how I'm not. They all just called and said, "You need longer than 10 minutes, don't you?"
Beautiful.
If you can find friends like that, you do everything you could possibly do to make sure that that friendship sticks and make sure that that friendship stays, because those kind of friends you'll never get again. And friendships are hard to create and to make in today's society. We're so caught up being ourselves and me, and we don't want to pour into other people's lives. We want to, what can they do for me kind of thing. When you have friends that value you and tell you you're going to need more than 10 minutes, aren't you? Those are friendships that I would never want to live without, and because I would never be able to breathe. And if you have friendships that you can't live without and you get past the surface, that's the other thing is that friendships take a while to get past the surface, because we're all like everybody, kind of like when men get into a group, the first thing they ask is, "Oh, what kind of job do you have? Oh, what do you, so but that's just the surface.
Exactly.
If you can get beyond the surface and get beyond the preconceived ideas and the arrogance of, everything, if you can get beyond that, that's the second step, getting to beyond that and to be able to be vulnerable. And then when you get beyond that, you'll see that everybody's no different than anybody else. If we could be a fly in anybody's wall, we all put our pants on the exact same way.
Right.
So if we can just look at that and build that and see what that kind of friendship is going to bring to your table and what you're going to bring to that table, and hang on to them for dear life, and don't let them go, because I know for me personally, I can't breathe without them.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us, where can they find you? Where can they grab your books?
Where can you find me? Well, I'm all over every social media. So
Excellent. I will post your social media up, of course.
I am. And I do have a website called healingthroughstories.com. It is where I blog each week. It is also where my books are being sold. I just started a new, in fact, I got my very first client. So that's kind of cool, is that I came up with an 8-week program on how to go through healing through your story to finding your purpose in your story. And so that is now for sale on my website for an 8-week program. But yeah, you can go on my website, healingthroughstories.com. My books are on there. There's 2 on there right now. Third one's coming out in June. So yeah, anybody wants to, reach out to me. Oh my goodness. I would love to have you reach out to me. And if anybody wants to take my 8-week program, it's worth finding out and understanding that your story is not it's not your death sentence, but it is your first aid kit.
Well, thank you so much, Bambi, for joining us today on Stories of Friendship. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.